All right, what's going on, guys? So, y'all remember like a few months ago, there was that huge controversial story about the trans swimmer. I made a video about it. It was pretty viral, like everyone was talking about it. I think the main headline everyone saw was that she was originally the 462nd ranked men's swimmer, and then she became the number one ranked women's swimmer. So because of all that, over the last couple months, they have been discussing what to do about it. And as of a few days ago, they have finally come to a decision. And I think this is actually pretty important when it comes to the future of all sports, really. But basically, they said that only people who have transitioned before the age of 12 can then compete in the women's division. And they said there is a clear advantage if you switch after you have already gone through male puberty, right? Now, first of all, I think it's a pretty fair assessment of the situation, right? Like, there's not much difference between like a 8-year-old boy and an 8-year-old girl, like, you know what I mean? Like, but there is usually a pretty huge physical difference between like a 16-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl. You know, like when kids are really young, a lot of times like they just let all the boys and the girls play together in the same like sports leagues or whatever. But once you get older, like you can't have like the high school men's basketball team and the women's basketball team play against each other, right? Like that just doesn't work. So obviously it makes sense from that standpoint. But on the other hand, it kind of implies that a decision needs to be made about your gender before the age of 12, which is crazy to me. Now, to be fair, in the article, like, they don't really, like, say that. They don't advocate for that. But that is what it implies, right? Like, I'm not against stopping grown adults from doing what they want to do to be happy. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool. But a 10-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid, they don't even know anything about life yet. That is way too serious of a decision for such a young person to be making. You know what I mean? That's a life-changing decision. And they could definitely go on and regret that later in life if they were to do so. Whereas, like, I think if a 30-year-old man wants to cut off his nuts, like, cool, bro, go ahead. They were hanging for a nice 30 years. I think you're making a well-informed decision. You know what I mean? At that point, like, you know what you want. You know, it doesn't gotta be 30, of course, but I think at least an adult, you gotta be 21 to drink a beer, but you can switch your gender at 12. Like, that shit ain't adding up to me. So, that being said, let me just read this tweet here real quick from Caitlyn Jenner. It worked. I took a lot of heat, but what's fair is fair. If you go through male puberty, you should not be able to take medals away from females, period. And then it links the article. So apparently Caitlyn has been advocating against letting them compete against the regular women the whole time. Now, this is interesting because I don't know if this is the case anymore, but at one point, Caitlyn Jenner was almost like the spokesperson for all trans people. She kind of popularized it, I would say. Definitely brought it to the mainstream for everyone else, because I didn't even really know anything about it before her, you know what I mean? So I don't know if she still kind of holds that position, but at least at one point she did it, and she definitely brought it to a lot of people's attention that maybe didn't really know anything about it before. But clearly, she still has a lot of influence. The tweet has over 80,000 likes. And if you look through the replies and the quotes and stuff, you'll see a lot of her community took it as like a betrayal almost, because she's obviously still a very big influence and they want her to obviously support their cause no matter what it is. Like, it's just like, hey, you know, you're one of the biggest voices that we have, you gotta just support everything we do type of thing, you know what I mean? But I want to point something out that I think is pretty interesting, right? So before she became known as Caitlyn, she used to be known as Bruce, obviously, and Bruce actually won a gold medal at the Olympics in track and field. So in reality, I actually cannot think of a more qualified person to speak on this topic than Caitlyn Jenner, right? Like, on one hand, we have Bruce, who competed and was successful at the highest level of sports. So she has experience, she knows what it takes, she knows really the differences between men and women trying to compete. And then on the other hand, we have Caitlyn, who used to be Bruce and now is Caitlyn. So now she knows exactly what it's like to be trans and all the difficulties and stuff that come with that. So I think based off that, there might not be a more qualified person out there to speak on this than Caitlyn Jenner. Maybe if like Michael Phelps came out and was like, actually, I think I'm a woman, that would be a more qualified person. But as of right now, she's number one. And I think that's why some people were really upset with her, because for the most part, people don't really care too much what she might have to say on other topics, you know what I mean? Whatever, like political issues or whatever. But on this very specific issue, she's very credible, you know what I mean? Her opinion definitely holds a lot of weight. So it's interesting to see that she kind of went against her own people on this one, and during Pride Month too. That's crazy. But the overall thing here is, now that they have actually started putting out some actual like regulations on this issue, I could kind of see this setting like a precedent for any future issues that come as well. I know I've seen similar stories like this in track as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that there. I know another one we've seen is MMA, although not quite to this extent, you know what I mean? But I have seen like trans MMA fighters, which I think that's absurd, man. Like, that's a sport where you're actually like beating people up. Like, come on, man. Like, that's just crazy. One that actually is kind of surprising is basketball, right? Like, I'm really surprised we haven't just seen like some dude switch to a girl and just drop Wilt Chamberlain numbers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't recall ever seeing anything like that. But maybe that has happened. I don't know. I feel like basketball would be like one of the most logical ones where that would happen. But for some reason, I don't know why we haven't already seen something like that. But yeah, anyways, that's pretty much it for the video, man. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like rating if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're not already. Follow me on Twitter. Links in the description down below. Check out my last video if you missed it. I uploaded like a little montage of some of my top Twitch clips that I had over like the last like 6 months or so. So if you've never seen me stream, maybe go watch that. You'll get an idea of like what we do on there. But that's like a very, I'd say, mild version of what actually happens on the stream, because there were some clips I was like, yeah, I probably can't put this on YouTube. And there's a lot of the stream where I just can't even clip it at all, because usually like we're in there trolling. You know, when you're talking to random people on the internet, they usually say something that platforms wouldn't enjoy being said. You know what I mean? So I usually always have to like delete all clips and VODs and stuff, because, you know, some crazy stuff gets said. But yeah, if you've never seen any of the streams, go check that video out. You'll get an idea of what we be doing on there. But yeah, anyways, once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day and peace out.